Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. And today we are continuing our discussion on money, what makes something money, and we're focusing on the attribute of established history or trust. Again, for something to be money, it has to be something which is trusted, as I mentioned before. If you don't believe that you're gonna, if I said to you, I'm gonna do work, which I guess equates to, let's say, £10,000. I'm gonna do some level of work for you that if you were to quantify in money, it would be £10,000. And I'm gonna give you, as in exchange for that, this cup. Now, you're not gonna take that because you have no faith or trust that anybody will take that off of you for £10,000. There's no agreed consensus for that transaction. So therefore, there's no trust in that as a system. Even if I manufactured thousands of these and made these a local currency, as at least this is my new currency, no one's going to accept that. Which you could say the same for a lot of things. So how about debt though? Let's go from the first type of money which we mentioned. This is debt. Now that comes down to the debtor, the person who is given a debt, and that's why we have credit ratings, we have shahada, we have other sorts of things to verify if a person is trustworthy. So the trust will be attached to the one given the debt, one issuing the debt, you could say. And therefore, we can't really establish a ruling over debt as a whole because some people are not trustworthy and some people are. So, I mean, you can just give it maybe a middle 3 out of 5 because it depends on the individual. But this is the innovation of money in terms of externalizing money, standardizing money into something external. So in terms of items and commodities, the trust in this is a social one. If I give you a bag of rice for a day's worth of work, I can trust that this bag of rice, if I wanted to exchange it for that value, I can do so. That's a communal thing. And this is something which is not just my trust, but it's a collective thing. It's a collective issue. So I will give those kind of issues a 4 out of 5. Only reason why I dropped it down from 4 out of 5, from 5 out of 5 is because with all items, commodities, it's down to, it could be very localized. What is very valuable in one particular area is not very valuable in other areas, or in one person or another person, another individual, not very valuable. But that's just something that can be said about even fiat money, which brings me to now gold. Gold, I will give it 5 out of 5 because throughout history, gold has been consistently used to store value. Maybe some say it's because it's shiny, some say it's because of its color, some say it's because of its durability. Whatever the reason be, from the time of the Egyptians to this day, you'd find consistently throughout history people have used gold as a means of exchange, and there hasn't been something where people object to. So because of that, I will give gold 5 out of 5 in terms of its historical trust. It's always the currency which people, you can almost say the fallback currency or the fallback money. When things go wrong, trust in gold. Which is true, which is valid, makes sense, it's fair. And I guess from a Muslim perspective, there is an added trust in gold because we have many Islamic texts, especially the Quran itself, giving value to gold. Mentioning dhahab al-fidda, gold and silver specifically. Never mentioned hadid as a means of exchange, but mentioned dhahab al-fidda as something to do with wealth. So if the Quran says it's something which has value, then who are we to say it has no value? I guess that's the psychology behind it. And which brings us to now fiat. Now, what's interesting about fiat money, and when I say fiat money, we have to always be aware. When we say paper money or fiat money, we're not talking about the certificate, the historical certificate that used to represent gold. We're talking about fiat that is on its own, no gold backing it. Fiat, which is basically based on riba, on interest, or loans from the future. You're borrowing from the future. The details will be referred to on the other video we made about fiat money and how fiat money is made. But the point being is that fiat money comes into existence through that manner. And it only really gets its power through trust in the issuer paying it back. So fiat money is actually very similar to just a normal debt, which we mentioned at the beginning. And it has the same kind of ruling. If you trust this person to pay you back, then it has the value that you trust. And if you don't trust them, then it pretty much has no value. And that is exactly the same we find with fiat money. As soon as the people lose faith in the currency of their country, you find its value goes to zero. The only reason why people still value the dollar and other things is because they trust and they have faith that these economies have been here for so long that they're going to pay back their debts. Also, we have an added feature of fiat money, which is the sword or force. The governments can enforce and force you to use their currencies. Like we found, for example, in Venezuela, when the Venezuelan peso was, I think it's called peso, when their currency was falling off a cliff, people started to move away from their currency because they realized it's a losing game. And people started to even use Bitcoin to transact and store their wealth. And then the Venezuelan government issued laws saying if you use that, you'll be punished. Jail time. You'll actually receive jail time for using another person's currency. So you were forced by the force of the law to use or to hold their bags or to hold their currencies. And that's something which we find very different from just a standard loan. Currency, fiat currency is just like a standard loan, but it comes with it the force of the government, which is not something that can be said about gold. No one forces gold to have its value. No one holds a gun to your head and said, make sure that you value gold this way. No, gold is what it is. It has value that's accepted by people, whereas fiat money, its value is purely based on our belief that tomorrow it will be accepted for something like that. Trust that it will be paid for it, that it has some value. And secondly, the force of the law. But beyond that, it doesn't really have anything beyond that. I mean, in terms of history, and yeah, I mean, his history goes as far back as when it was created, and I guess most of these currencies were made before we were born, but that's as far as it goes. And as history is our witness, fiat currencies, 99% of all fiat currencies in history have always gone to zero. So for anyone to really think that if 99% of all fiat currencies historically have gone to zero, what makes our current system any different? Time will tell. Anyway, so in terms of history, I would give fiat currencies a 4 out of 5, and that's a merciful one. And it's only because it's something which, at least immediately, there is trust in a lot of the currencies we use. And even if there isn't really a trust in that or history in that, at least it is kind of enforced by government to force you to believe in almost a way. So that has in it. Whereas if the government never had any force or any backing, then people just move on, as has happened in other systems and economies in the past. Now we have our Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin hasn't had as much trust or history. So let me say again, hasn't had much history as the other systems. Trust, I wouldn't say about trust, but history. Especially considering that the method and the way in which Bitcoin behaves and acts is actually entirely new. Fiat money, gold, items, commodities, they're all just a new invention of the same thing. I mean, I'm just using a different material, a different way of storing the same kind of value. Whereas Bitcoin is very different. We've never had a system that doesn't rely on trust in any individual, on any centralized organization. It just is embodied and enforced, or the trust is within the mathematics. So because of that, most people their skepticism is based on it being new. It's novelty, not in the system actually being not a bad system. No one says, yeah, I've assessed the white paper and everything is a bad system. No, but literally because they just don't know what it really is, which is changing very rapidly. And I do believe that we don't really need that much time like you need for gold for it to be trusted. I think you find that Bitcoin would be something that is trusted a lot faster than people think, just like the internet. If you remember in the 90s, people didn't really trust the internet. Like, I mean, doing business and buying stuff online, people were like, I mean, how do you even get it? Who are these people online? There wasn't really much trust. I remember those days when there wasn't much trust online. Using your debit card on a website was like, oh my days, that's a big risk. Whereas now it's like, it's a thing you can do it on your phone with a fingerprint, jing, and that's it. You just pay for something. So the internet, trust in the internet only took literally less than less than a decade or two. So if technology goes as it's supposed, as it's been going so far, Bitcoin's already had 10 years of history. So I guess in the next 10 years, we'll probably be ubiquitous as anything else that we pay for today. So I don't believe that it necessarily needs the level of trust that you would have or the historical background as gold has. But I do believe that it would reach a level of trust whereby people would trust the system and use it as though it is gold or of that level very soon. And I know there are many people who already trust it. Once they learn about it, they already trust it as it is. So I would give Bitcoin a current 3 out of 5. And that's only because of adoption. We're still very, very early. Most people don't even know what Bitcoin is. But that 3 out of 5 will soon turn to 5 out of 5, I believe, in the near future. If you find this video useful, please like this video, subscribe to our channel. If you want to give us a shout, you can find our details on our website. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.